Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It's July 22nd, 2023, and we are in the Old Testament, and we're in the book of Judges. We're going to read chapter 1, starting the book of Judges. All right, so we don't know who wrote Judges, but this is essentially the period in Israel's history that comes after Moses and Joshua. Now, technically, they were probably the start. They were kind of the bridge between the patriarchal system and the judge system. We don't have a king yet. We saw with Moses that people would come to him with their problems, or they wanted to know God's will, and he would adjudicate it for them. And then Joshua took his place. Now that Joshua dies, we're going to go through a string of people, but there is no single leader over them all like there was with Moses and Joshua. They've now broken into their clans. Their clans are now trying to take over their inheritance properties. God gave them the promised land, but he didn't quite wipe out all the Canaanites. He's leaving it for the Israelites to finish the job. God gave them his promise. They need to value that promise and actually go out and trust God that if they keep working at it, they keep persevering, they're going to inherit their promised land and push the Canaanites out like they were supposed to. Doesn't happen that way. They kind of get complacent. They kind of realize, we've been fighting a long time, let's just make them slaves. And that's not what God wanted. God wanted them gone, because if there was a remnant of the Canaanites left, they were going to corrupt the Israelites with their practices, which actually happens, and which we're going to see in Judges. And that's basically what Judges is about, is the Israelites snatching defeat from the jaws of victory, essentially. So let's go ahead and we're going to read Judges chapter 1. Now after the death of Joshua, it came to pass that the children of Israel asked the Lord, saying, who shall be first to go up for us against the Canaanites to fight against them? And the Lord said, Judah shall go up. Indeed, I have delivered the land into his hand. So Judah said to Simeon his brother, come up with me to my allotted territory, that we may fight against the Canaanites, and I will likewise go with you to your allotted territory. And Simeon went with him. Then Judah went up, and the Lord delivered the Canaanites and the Perizzites into their hand. And they killed 10,000 men at Bizek. And they found Adonai-Bezek in Bezek and fought against him, and they defeated the Canaanites and the Perizzites. Then Adonai-Bezek fled, and they pursued him and caught him and cut off his thumbs and big toes. And Adonai-Bezek said, 70 kings with their thumbs and big toes cut off used to gather scraps under my table. As I have done, so God has repaid me. Then they brought him to Jerusalem, and there he died. Now the children of Judah fought against Jerusalem and took it. They struck it with the edge of the sword and set the city on fire. And afterward the children of Judah went down to fight against the Canaanites who dwelt in the mountains in the south and in the lowland. Then Judah went against the Canaanites who dwelt in Hebron. Now the name of Hebron was formerly Kirjath Arba, and they killed Sheshai, Ahiman, and Telmal. From there they went against the inhabitants of Debir. The name of Debir was formerly Kirjath Sepher. Then Caleb and said, whoever attacks Kirjath Sepher and takes it to him, I will give my daughter Aksa as wife. And Othniel, the son of Kenaz, Caleb's younger brother, took it. So he gave him his daughter Akasa as wife. Now it happened, when she came to him, that she urged him to ask her father for a field. And she dismounted from her donkey, and Caleb said to her, what do you wish? So she said to him, give me a blessing, since you have given me land in the south. Give me also springs of water. Caleb gave her the upper springs and the lower springs. Now the children of the Kenite, Moses' father-in-law, went up from the city of palms with the children of Judah from the wilderness of Judah, which lies in the south near Arad. And they went and dwelt among the people. And Judah went with his brother Simeon, and they attacked the Canaanites who inhabited Zephath and utterly destroyed it. So the name of the city was called Hormah. Also Judah took Gaza with its territory, Ashkelon with its territory, and Ekron with its territory. So the Lord was with Judah. And they drove out the mountaineers, but they could not drive out the inhabitants of the lowland, because they had chariots of iron. And they gave Hebron to Caleb, as Moses had said. Then he expelled from there the 3 sons of Anak, but the children of Benjamin did not drive out the Jebusites who inhabited Jerusalem. So the Jebusites dwell with the children of Benjamin in Jerusalem to this day. And the house of Joseph also went up against Bethel, and the Lord was with them. So the house of Joseph sent men to spy out Bethel. The name of the city was formerly Luz. And when the spies saw a man coming out of the city, they said to him, please show us the entrance to the city, and we will show you mercy. So he showed them the entrance to the city, and they struck the city with the edge of the sword. But they let the man and all his family go. And the man went to the land of the Hittites, built a city, and called its name Luz, which is the name it has to this day. However, Manasseh did not drive out the inhabitants of Beth Shean and its villages, or Tanakh and its villages, or the inhabitants of Dor and its villages, or the inhabitants of Ibleam and its villages, or the inhabitants of Megiddo and its villages, for the Canaanites were determined to dwell in that land. And it came to pass, when Israel was strong, that they put the Canaanites under tribute, but did not completely drive them out. Nor did Ephraim drive out the Canaanites who dwelt in Gezer, so the Canaanites dwelt in Gezer among them. Nor did Zebulun drive out the inhabitants of Kitron or the inhabitants of Naholol, so the Canaanites dwelt among them and were put under tribute. Nor did Asher drive out the inhabitants of Accho or the inhabitants of Sidon or of Ahalab, Achib, Helba, Ephek, or Rehob, so the Asherites dwelt among the Canaanites, the inhabitants of the land, for they did not drive them out. Nor did Naphtali drive out the inhabitants of Beth Shemesh or the inhabitants of Beth Anath, but they dwelt among the Canaanites, the inhabitants of the land. Nevertheless, the inhabitants of Beth Shemesh and Beth Anath were put under tribute to them. And the Amorites forced the children of Dan into the mountains, for they would not allow them to come down to the valley. And the Amorites were determined to dwell in Mount Heres, in Ajalon, and in Shehablim. Yet when the strength of the house of Joseph became greater, they were put under tribute. Now the boundary of the Amorites was from the ascent of Akrabim, from Selah and upward. May God bless the reading of his word. May God bless you. Bye.